Hey guys, and welcome back to Sarah Lynn Makeup. Today we are doing day 13 of my makeup challenge. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Just to recap, we are doing a makeup challenge where I select a makeup palette at random and create a look using that palette. This is not my own idea. This was an idea from a TikToker that I follow, and I absolutely loved it, and I wanted to do it for myself because there are a lot of makeup palettes that I own that I've never used, and so this is going to make me use them and see if I like them or not. I did want to quickly just kind of apologize for not really being active on social media. I have really been struggling with the motivation to want to sit here and do my makeup. Even though makeup is something that I absolutely love and enjoy, it's the motivation to do it that is the hard part. Once I start doing it, I remember how much I love it, and then I'm all excited, and it's great, but getting there is the problem. But either way, let's pick a palette. So the palette that was selected at random is the Morphe 39S Such a Gem palette. This is what the inside of it looks like. It's just very flirty and sparkly, especially this color right here, this beautiful. I really like this nice shimmery black too. I'm pretty excited to do a look with this palette today. I kind of struggle sometimes with these larger palettes because there's just so many different routes that you can go in. And to do this challenge, I always feel like I need to use a ton of colors, and then I just really struggle more and more with it. So I'm excited to see where we can go with this. And I've always loved Morphe palettes anyway. I haven't had any issues with them. They're some of my favorite. I think the majority of the palettes that I own are Morphe. So let's get into it. So first things first, I am priming my eyes with the Milani Eyeshadow Primer. While my primer is setting, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Hydrating Booster Drops because my skin, even though I did all of my skincare, it's feeling a little dry. So I'm going to add some of this into it just to give it that little extra moisture and hydration before I do any of my face makeup. So my primer is set very nicely. I'm happy with it. So now we're going to dip into our first shade, which is going to be this deep purple called Make It Rain. And I'm going to be putting that on with the Morphe E36, just a really small, dense brush. And what I want to do is just start to pack that shade just underneath my crease, and that's because we're going to blend it out with another shade. So we're just going to start packing it on. So now that I've packed on that color, I want to dip into this one right here called Grape Minds, and I'm using a ColourPop E27, and I want to blend out the tops of the Make It Rain shade. So now that we've got that blended out kind of where I want to dip into this light pink shade here. This one is called Boujee, and on this one I'm using a ColourPop E22 brush. If you haven't noticed, ColourPop is some of my favorite brushes. So with this, I'm going to blend out the tops of both of those purple shades. I'm definitely focusing it more on the outer corner of the eye. So now I'm going to take some micellar water and just a regular Q-tip, and I'm going to start to carve out a crease. Now that I have that crease carved out, I'm going to go in with the LA Girl Pro Conceal concealer in the shade Fairest. And I'm using this because it's a really, really light concealer, so it's going to brighten up where I just cut that crease, so it'll be a good base for the other shadows that we're going to go in with. So now I'm going to take this OFRA pressed powder oil control. It's just a white pressed powder, and the same brush that I use for my concealer, the ColourPop E3. And I'm going to set that concealer with it. So now with my finger, I'm going to pick up this pink sparkle shade. This one is called Oh Yass. And I'm going to just start placing that all over where I cut my crease. I actually changed my mind and I went in with this shade right here. This one is called Strike a Pose. And then I went over top of it with the Oh Yass. That kind of gave me the color that I was looking for. So now what I want to do is pick up that Make It Rain shade, which is the first one that we used. And on a ColourPop E29, it's a very, very tiny brush. I want to just run it along the tops of that shimmer shade to kind of deepen up and define that cut crease just a little bit more. So for now, I'm going to pause and move on to the rest of my face. So to prime my face, I want to use a new primer, and I actually want to try the new NYX Plump Right Back with electrolytes. It's a plumping serum and primer. I just got this, if you saw the videos on my TikTok of me getting it, and I want to try it and see what I think. So while that is setting, I feel like I kind of want a wing to go with this look. So I'm going to go in with the Benefit Cosmetics Their Real Extreme Precision Liner. I just talked about this in my last video, and I just want to create like a nice little wing. My primer has set, and I want to go in with my concealer first, just on some of these breakouts so that my foundation hides it a little bit better. And I only want to blend that out just a little bit. For my foundation today, I'm going to be using the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. This one is in the shade 00A, which is Porcelain. And I'm going to be putting it on with a brush first. This is the Sigma F80 flat kabuki brush. And I just want to do patting motions to really press it into my skin. I'm going to blend that out with a Real Techniques Beauty Blender. I know I'm looking a little scary right now, but it's only because I need to bring some color back to my face. So I'm going to use the LA Girl Pro Conceal Concealer Tube in the shade Toast. I'm going to use this as my contour. To blend this out, I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. Thank you to Michaela for showing me how amazing this brush was. I go over that with that same Real Techniques Beauty Blender just to make sure it's nice and blended. Concealer, I'm going to be using the same LA Girl Pro Conceal. This one is in the shade Fairest. I'm going to use this as my under eye highlight and concealer. Still blending that out with the Real Techniques Beauty Blender, just using the pointed end this time. Now I'm going to use the Milani Cheek Kiss Liquid Blush. This is in the shade 120 Pink Flirt. Just want a little bit right up at the very tops of my cheekbones. And I'm going to blend that out still with the Real Techniques Beauty Blender. Now for a little highlight, I'm going to use this Wet n Wild Hello Halo Liquid Highlighter. And this one is in the shade 304A Halo Goodbye. Put just a little bit, pretty much right where I put that blush. And quickly blend that out with that Real Techniques Beauty Blender again. For bronzer, I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Paris True Match Lumi Bronze It. It's the one I always use. This one is in the shade 01 Light. And I'm going to be putting that on with the ColourPop F28. For blush, I'm going to use this Essence The Blush. This one's in the shade 40 Beloved. This is one of my favorite blushes. It is so pigmented, but it's also so beautiful. Like, look at that. For the blush, I was using the Sigma F10. Now I'm going to go in with the Morphe E41 and just kind of go over top of that bronzer and that blush and just make sure that they're nice and blended out and not too harsh. Now I'm going to take the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder, and I just want to brighten up that under eye again just a little bit. It really doesn't brighten it too much because I'm super pale, but it does enough. I'm going to take that powder puff and just kind of set the rest of my face a little bit, mostly just in my T-zone where I get oily. Before I get into finishing up my face, I want to finish up my eyes, starting with the under eye. So on a Morphe M432 brush, I'm going to pick up this shade right here, the Grape Minds. And I'm going to stamp that on my lower lash line. Next, I'm taking the ColourPop E27. I just cleaned it off with the color changer. I'm going to dip into this shade Boujee, and I'm going to just blend out that Grape Minds shade. For liner, I'm going to be using this ColourPop Cream Gel Liner. This one is in the shade Crybaby. I'm using the lighter liner because it will open your eye back up since we have all those dark colors around it. For mascara, I'm very picky. The first thing I do is just take a clean spoolie and quickly go through my lashes. Then I take the Maybelline Lash Sensational mascara and I do just a very, very small amount. And they just look really nicely fanned out and just beautiful. Next mascara that I go in with is the Covergirl Lash Blast Volume. I also really like the wand on this, but I am obsessed with just how well they kind of come together after using the two different mascaras. So I don't typically do false lashes, and I'm starting to think that it's because of the lash glue that I have. I don't think that it's very good. So if you have any recommendations for like a really good lash glue, let me know. For lip, I think I'm gonna do kind of a nude lip. I'm gonna use the OFRA lip liner. This one looks like it's in the shade Silk. I'm gonna sharpen it. Now I'm going to go with the ColourPop Ultra Blotted Lip. This one is in the shade Zuma. For an inner corner highlight, I'm going to dip into the shade right here. This one is called Pearlfection, and I'm going to put that on with a ColourPop E29 brush. And for highlight, I'm going to use the Juvia's Place, the Ice Loose Highlighter. And with this, I'm using the ColourPop F33. And to finish it off, I'm going to spray Milani Make It Last Setting Spray everywhere. Here's the final look. Tell me what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching day 13. As always, I will list all the products that I use down below along with all of my socials. So if you ever want to go and check those out, you are welcome to, and it's always appreciated by me. If you have not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. Also like, comment, share, any way to show your support. As always, I appreciate it. Along with doing that over on my TikTok account where I do post kind of shorter versions of this, and then I do more in depth for YouTube. So this is my first time using this Morphe 39S palette, and I will say I actually really enjoyed it. I didn't have any problem blending out the purples. Purple can be a very finicky shade to be able to blend out. It didn't give me any trouble, blended beautifully, very pigmented. I've always been a fan of Morphe palettes. They've never done me dirty, so of course I was going to be impressed. So that is it for this video. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys for day 14.